main topic for today of our expert talk is maintaining good relationships with long-term clients. Now, this is actually the first time that we have an expert talk in Asia, and I'm pretty excited because we have a very interesting topic, and we've also invited an awesome guest speaker today. So she's gonna be sharing a lot of really good insights. But before we kick things off, let me just make a quick introduction. My name is Anne, and I'm from the Philippines, and I'm the Upwork Ambassador in Asia. I've been doing freelancing for more than 10 years, only here in Upwork, because that's where my loyalty lies. Just kidding. And my main niche is actually in process and quality improvement. So I work with stakeholders abroad in improving the quality of BPOs and as well as the operations processes. But eventually I realized that, I have a knack for empowering independent contractors to be really successful and help them reach their maximum potential. So that's the reason why I'm here. Right. So our main agenda will revolve around maintaining good relationships with long-term clients. And just like what I mentioned a while ago, our guest speaker will walk us through very insightful strategies and checklists on how to do this based on his experience in the industry. Also, please note that the tips and best practices that will be discussed with you are based on our guest speaker's experience. So everything is optional because at the end of the day, you guys are the owner of your business. So you can experiment, you can come up with your own, you can, get a few stuff here and there from our guest speaker and other people. But we hope that, we're very confident that whatever's gonna be discussed today is gonna be a big help because our guest speaker is a very successful independent professional himself. All right. And now, moving on, let me share some information about our guest speaker today. I know that you guys are excited. So we have Usman Kakangi, and he graduated from Nuhu Bamalli Polytechnic with a higher national diploma in computer science. So he previously worked as a customer support specialist and virtual assistant for an online learning application. And fortunately, he now works as a customer service specialist in Upwork. So Usman is very passionate about mentoring independent professionals based on my previous conversations with him. And we're really happy that, he's like a full package. He knows what he's saying based from experience, and he has the passion to help. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and give the floor to him so we can kick things off. Okay. Hi, Usman.
Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great honor to be here.
Yes, it's a pleasure. So before you start with your presentation, Usman, let's I wanted to like know you better. I know our participants now also want to know more things about you. So just two questions. The first one is how did you start your freelancing journey?
Okay, great. It actually started about 3.5 years ago. But to be honest, like before then, it kind of started, then paused, then continued. So I found out about Fiverr in about 2015.
Mhm.
But then I was having difficulty with setting up a payment method. And then I just graduated. So I didn't really know much about freelancing. So I like gave it a break. I went into other things, which was digital skills training, empowering youths to be able to actually set an online presence for their businesses. So in 2018, there was a program uh, which was sponsored by the government of my country, Nigeria. So it was to actually mentor people on how to establish a freelance business. So immediately I saw the advert, I saw Upwork, I was thrilled because before that, like I heard about Upwork and I wasn't even approved, just doing so many things, busy with my training and all the stuff. So I just told myself, this is the chance to actually finally nail it. So I
Yeah.
attended the program, and after that, well, the rest they say is history. Yeah. So after that, I just kept landing jobs, meeting clients, building collaborations, even within Upwork itself.
Mhm.
I was able to mentor freelancers, which I'm really proud of right now because they've really gone so far in the freelance business on Upwork. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a lot of things that you've done. And my other question is like out of curiosity, before doing freelancing, did you have any office work or on-site job?
And yes, I did. Not one, I think. Yeah, I was doing a government job as well as the trainings, which is on site. At
Mm-hmm.
times we do even travel because I actually did a training where Google was a partner, and then another one where Facebook was a partner. So we're really training like about 5,000 women each year
Mm-hmm.
to build an online presence for their businesses because they actually were able to identify that the big problem was uh, not the entrepreneurial skills, but uh, the ability to actually thrive in the digital world that we are living in right now.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much for the information, Usman. So I'll go ahead and give the floor to you.
Thank you, Anne.
You're welcome.
Okay, so first off, we're gonna actually talk about the strategies for creating long-lasting relationships with clients, which is usually one of the most difficult things or the most challenging things that freelancers experience on Upwork or, well, name it any of the freelancing platform. So you find out that you work with a client and at times it's usually a one-time job and that's it, like you hungry for more jobs but don't hear from the client again because it's not all clients that actually are open with you in the sense that maybe they are not satisfied with the job you did or they're not 100% satisfied. Most times they just end the contract and give you feedback, and they're so nice and so polite that they don't want your profile to have a bit of negative feedback, so they give you the normal positive feedback and move on to hiring another freelancer. So we're going to talk about strategies to ensure that you secure these long-term clients where you give that client that impression that uh, for this particular kind of project, don't go anywhere. Yeah, this is the last bus stop. So the first one is communication, quick turnover, good deliverables, understanding various cultures of clients, because well, we all reside in different locations around the world, and then project timeline. So we're gonna quickly look at the first one, communication. Next slide, please. Okay, so communication is, I believe, the most important strategy when working as a freelancer. If you ask me why, uh, we all live in different geographical locations, right? We are from different races, and tribes, all of that. So if you are able to accurately and efficiently communicate with the person that you're working on, you actually save that client a lot of time, a lot of resources, actually. And that makes the client very happy and wouldn't want to actually work with any other person aside from you. Yeah, go on. Thank you. So the next is quick turnover. So the quickly you deliver, you are able to deliver projects, and then the quickly the client is even eager to offer you with another project. I will give you an example of myself. Like there's this client I like was working with, and the first time we met after delivering my first project, she never ever posted any job again publicly. In fact, she doesn't post an invite only job. She only reaches out to me. Hey Usman, are you available and interested in this project? And she'll just send the offer, and that's it. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just like I mentioned, we live in different places, right? So understanding cultures is very important. Let me just give a quick example of greeting, for example. Uh, in some parts of the world, you address them as when greeting them, you say hello, hi. Well, in other parts, you actually say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Like where I am, that's what you say. It's kind of regarded unpolite when you say hi or hello, especially to an elderly person. Yeah, but in other places, they don't really mind. And over here, another thing is you address elderly people as sir, as ma'am, and, and all of that. So it's always important to find out, dig a little bit deeper, do your homework, and find out about your clients, where they're living, how are things done over there. Next slide, please. And then there's the project timeline. So this is something you are supposed to do at the beginning of project. Thank God for Upwork. It's amazing. I'm also loyal, just as Anne. So yeah, I love everything about Upwork. The platform, the setup, everything is just amazing. So you have project milestones. So this gives you an advantage into employing this strategy here, given your client the project timeline as to when you are gonna complete the project. So you might, for example, say, okay, you divide it into 3, 4, 5 milestones, as the case may be, for example, and you explain to the client that in the first milestone, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. In the second milestone, I'm gonna do A, B, and C, so forth. So that actually shows the client that you are proactive, you are confident, and you are really interested in your business, interested in actually adding value to their business. Because one thing I've learned is the clients usually feel so at ease when they know that you are not just eager to start work to maybe earn a living or earn money or whatever it is, but you are also interested and passionate about providing solutions to their businesses. And that is really key. It has gone a long way for me. There are clients that I no longer see them as clients. I see them as acquaintances. They actually even confide in me as to like personal issues, and even stuff outside our project scope and all of that. Like we speak regarding their families, and we become really acquainted. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. Oh, so we're done with the strategies. There could be even more, by the way, but those ones are really key and have really helped me a lot. So I'm actually sharing from my experiences. So checklists of maintaining these relationships with clients include work ethics, response time, and then revisions, meeting clients' expectations. So let's dive into the first one. So work ethics is a very integral part of any work, be it traditional or remote work. But I cannot emphasize enough how important it is in freelance business, because, well, you're not under any supervision, right? So you are the one to actually set the tone of how you work. You need to be highly organized, have a way of communicating with your client, and also have a style of doing work, and style of delivery as well. So this gives the client that confidence, and shows him that you are reliable, because let's say, for example, like you've uh, accepted an offer to work as a freelancer for a particular business, be it an individual or a company, and you are working on this 3 months project, and along the line, something comes up which is gonna take a week to complete, and they reach out to you, and they expect to see that you are professional and you are confident enough to actually be flexible and accept that flexibility. That's ethic, because you are not being monitored by anyone. You are living, most likely, doesn't have to be true. You could be in the same location, but, well, you are not in the same office location, right? You are resided in the place you actually work from, which could be from home, uh, co-working space, or anywhere, as the case may be. So you need to give your clients that assurance that you will be able to log on time. You will be able to fulfill your promise when you, like, say, I'm gonna complete this job in 1 week, and when something comes up, as you are a human being and you're unable to deliver, you are also willing to communicate ahead of time, actually, and tell the client that, okay, I have a sick mother, for example, I need to take her to the hospital. Could we please adjust the project timeline as to when I'm going to deliver the project, and all of that? Next slide, please. Thank you. So the next one is quick response time. So we have Upwork messages, right? And there's something which I also love about Upwork, which is on your stats. That's, if you go to my stats, there's something called the response time. And it shows the client, like, how fast you actually answer invites, because I think the average is, after you have answered up to 10 job invites, then it shows either less than 24 hours or more than 24 hours. So less than 24 hours shows that you have a very quick response time. As soon as you actually get a message from a client, you are able to reply that message on time, because at times these clients, these people, are really busy. Some of them are really high enterprise clients. They do not have time, so they are only looking to work with an efficient and reliable person, which they want to reach out to at any time and get work done as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So the next one is revisions. So you should be able to offer revisions. I don't see it as free work, because this is actually after the project, and this gives the client confidence, because you show them that you are competent, right? doing offering revisions shows that, like, okay, look, I am willing to deliver this job 101%. Yeah, not just 100%, 101%. If there are any issues, please, let's look at it together. Where do you think I need to make adjustments, and all of that. That's really something that goes a very, very, very long way. uh, you might want to consider giving revisions to clients, and I assure you that you would build long lasting relationships. Okay, so now we're going to talk about meeting clients' expectations. So I think for this checklist, the number one thing to do is do your own research, do your homework. What I do is, as soon as I apply to a job or maybe go into an interview, the first thing I do is research about that company or that name. And in most cases, I'm able to find out one or two things about that company. And then secondly, I read over and over again job description, sink it in, make sure I understand it clearly. That way, even before the commencement of the project, I already know what I'm going to dive into. That way, as soon as I start the project, everything will go smoothly until the end. That way, you are able to meet that expectation of the client, because you've already understood the job from the beginning. Like, you've actually understood the requirements, what you were needed to do. So if you are having difficulties in this regard, you should ask uh, questions where necessary. Never assume that you know it or you think you know it. Always be 100% sure. When you have questions, don't hesitate. This is one of a very powerful tool. For me, I know personally, and will testify to this. So questions are never a sign of weakness. Rather, they make you better as a freelancer, as a professional, even as a person. Yeah.
Yes, and also just to add to what Usman said, when you ask a question, that actually shows the client that you're really interested and you're really invested in knowing the ins and outs of the projects, and not just saying that I can do this and I can do that, and then eventually you don't know something just because you were so shy to ask questions. So that's gonna put you on a negative light. So it's very important to ask questions.
Thank you for that, Anne. Okay, so that's all for me. So
Awesome.
yeah, appreciate all of your time
Mhm.
for listening. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So again, thank you so much, Usman. Those are very interesting insights, and they're really helpful. Actually, some of those points were discussed in our previous webinar. So if you're someone who's a first timer with the webinars, Upwork webinars in Asia, let me just do a quick FYI that we actually have past event recordings that you can go back to, and you can just visit upwork.com/community/events. Again, Usman, thank you so much for accommodating our request for you to do this expert talk. I also learned some tricks under your sleeves, so those are really helpful. And right now, Usman, we're gonna open the floor for the Q&A. I'll go ahead and read out the first one. I also sent it to you. So this one is from, okay, let's start. Okay, here from Gafar Bashir. Um, I have questions how to build 100% profile and how do you get experience. So first, let's answer that based on your experiences, man, and then I'll go ahead and follow through.
Sorry, Anne, could you repeat that one more time? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. On based on your experience, like how did you build out your profile from 0 to 100, and how did you get your experience?
Okay, thank you for that question. Like I mentioned when Anne asked how I began my freelancing journey, I attended this workshop, and it was just a day talk. To be honest, it wasn't enough. I'm gonna be honest with you, yeah. But I learned a lot. I never underestimate even 10 minutes talk with a professional or someone who has experience, because you cannot buy experience. So from that, I took my learnings. I created a profile. Uh, I was researching. I was going through the community forums, and another thing I think I did was looking at other professionals, especially in my niche. That was the main thing that helped me build my own profile. Yeah, that was the main thing. And another thing to your last question is tenacity. I don't give up easily. Yeah. Yeah. So I wasn't looking at, oh, I have submitted 10 proposals, I've submitted 20, not nothing yet. No. I know that sooner or later I'm gonna get there. Yeah. We all have our journey, right? Some might submit five and even land two out of that five. So I was really willing, I was passionate, and I never stopped for a bit. So I was just going through the job feed. In fact, it got to a point where I fully understood how the search functionality worked, and that is really key because okay, Upwork is a very, very big platform, the biggest one, yeah, the biggest online marketplace that we have right now. So you can imagine the jobs that are posted. I think right now it's about 3 million annual jobs that are posted. So you need to be able to break it down, filter out your own niche, and then filter out the ones that you are able to do. Yeah, and then that's it. I
All
hope
right,
I
thank.
answered your question.
Yep. And in addition to that, on our end, I'm gonna post the link here. And for everyone who's wondering, how to build their profile, aside from what Usman said, which are very good tips, you can also watch past webinars that I did on the link in the chat box. It's www.upwork.com/community/events, and just look for the title Winning Profiles. So we actually did that for different regions. There's one for Ukraine and different other countries, but try to look for Asia. So you can go ahead. There's a lot of insights that you will also find very helpful in addition to what Usman is sharing right now. All right, let's move on to the next question. Um, okay, this is a good one, Usman. I'll go ahead and send it to you. So just to read it out, it's from Joan Zhao. As a freelancer, I have projects from sources other than Upwork and schedules may conflict. How have you handled the time arrangement between projects and clients?
Okay, thank you for that question. So first thing I'm going to say is, number one, I don't accept a project until I am 100% sure that I would be able to deliver ahead of time, not just even on time, ahead of time. I think it's one of the things that has allowed me to acquire long-term clients. Because let's say a project is for 1 week. So I always try to see that I deliver it in 5 days. Just have that cushion of 2 days in case of any eventualities. So if I am doing another project and someone invites me to another project, what I do is ask myself, look at what I'm doing. Will this new project be conflicting? Would it allow me to balance? Because it's very important, work balance. If you are unable, because uh, you have a limit as a human being. We have our strengths, we have our weaknesses. And well, you know how the brain is. There are times that you need rest. Your body also needs rest. There's so much that you can do at a particular point in time. So always try to make sure that you balance the timeline for projects. If you know that you are unable, even if the client demands that you deliver a certain project at a certain point in time, always be sure that you can do it. If not, if, okay, the client is saying, I want you to, I've done this so many times. I want you to deliver it in 1 week. Tell him, how about we do 10 days? At times they might say, okay, how about we make it 9 days? At least that way, you are not forcing yourself to accept the time they are giving you. Try to always under promise and over deliver. Because if you under promise and over deliver, it keeps the relationship. But when you over promise and under deliver, it gives a client a very bad impression, and that's a fallback for you, to be honest. So always make sure that when you are accepting projects, balance the time. Make sure you have enough time to actually circle within these projects.
Awesome. Okay. That's a very good answer. Another one from Hadia Hanif. Usman, what is a revision?
Thank you, Hadi, for that question. Here's what revision means. It doesn't necessarily apply to all categories of jobs, or yeah, what freelancers actually offer. So let me give you a clear example. Let's say you are a graphic designer, and you were asked by a client to design a flyer for an upcoming event, right? So after completing that project, you can tell the client that you are offering 1 or 2 revisions, for example. 2 revisions meaning that when they review that flyer and they actually require an adjustment to be made, so they will send you back the completed work and you look at it and make the necessary correction. So that is simply what we call revision. So that is not something where you charge them for. You are actually using this as a strategy to win them. Hope you get. So you're using a strategy to actually win their hearts, yeah, into working with them for a long period of time. And so there might not be any revisions for a particular project. The client might be fully satisfied, but you offering that revision actually tells them something. You are really interested in helping them because it means a lot to clients. It's not just about getting the work done and getting paid. No, show them that interest, that you are interested in the project, you are willing to help them, and all of that. So that's what revision means. I hope I answered.
Yes, and with that, there's a follow-up question. Regarding revision, Tarang Kotecha is asking how many revisions should we consider? But it was specific to UX or UI design, but I'm not sure, Usman, if you have a specific idea with this one. But I would suggest if you don't, how about a general, like a general feel of how many revisions would you allow?
I would say not more than two. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, not more than two. Okay, let's move on to, oh, here's a good one. Okay, Hassan Siddiqui is asking, okay, let me just post it here for Usman. I'd like to ask Usman, how can we present the idea of ending a contract or job to a long-term client that may not be on the same page? It goes without saying that this needs to be done without upsetting the client.
Hmm. I'm trying to digest this one. I'm not sure if I understood you because you said you'd like to ask how to present the idea of ending a contract or job to a long-term client. So this actually depends on one or two things. Uh, are you ending it because you are unsatisfied or because of another reason? So if you are ending it because you are unsatisfied, or yeah, let's start with unsatisfied, for example. So the best way to approach it is by giving that client a notice. That's just what I can recommend, because that way it wouldn't upset the client because they now have time to look for another freelancer to continue working with them on that project. I think that's the best thing to do because imagine just uh, working and you are in the middle of a project and you just break that news one early morning to a client where maybe he or she is just on his computer and wanting to just hear from you as to the progress of the job, and you just break that news, I quit. No, I think even in traditional settings, maybe in government and even private sectors, I know over here, I'm not sure in other countries, that you give 1 month in lieu of notice. In fact, in over here, if you feel it's something really urgent that you have to resign immediately, you actually pay them a 1 month upfront salary for, yeah, for actually leaving immediately. You don't like do that, and I actually agree with that principle. It's not nice because it's more or less like damages to the client in question, because they would have to start up process all over again, scouting for someone like you or someone better than you. And then in some cases, not all freelancers will grab it immediately. They might have to even take time to train them, and all of that. So give them notice. Same thing, and maybe another reason could be that you got a job. So in this case, you come clean. It has happened to me, to be honest. It just came all of a sudden. So I wasn't able to give a month notice, but I told that client immediately I started that interview because I was really confident that I was actually gonna land the job. It was this same one Anne mentioned, the learning app. I was really enjoying working with them, to be honest. So sometimes some things come that are beyond your control, and as a freelancer, you always look at your future, you always look at career progression and other things, you know. So I actually told that client that I'm sorry, but something came up out of the blue, and he was really understanding, and he even told me that I'm always welcome to come back if I want. And I think that's all that matters. So far as you have a very good understanding and good relationship, you shouldn't have a problem with this. I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely. That was awesome. That was well said. And I also agree with what Usman said. You know, giving them enough time to find a replacement will just give them the feeling that you really treasure your relationship with them and not just leave them hanging, especially when there are pending tasks that you're gonna leave, right? So that's a very good one. Another By the way, John Taylor said that, please, can you tell us about good deliverables? I think that slide was missed. Can we do a quick uh, check here, Usman? Good deliverables. Is it this one? Okay. All right. So would you mind elaborating on this again, Usman?
Sure, it's a pleasure. Yeah. So uh, good deliverables. Deliverable simply means the output of that project. Let's say it's a translation project, for example, right? You're translating from Tagalog to English, right? So, and you, because, okay, we have Google Translate, right? So you want to make sure that it's adequately uh, translated, just as a native person, native of that language. You don't want to give the impression to the client that you actually use the trick of Google Translate. Maybe you translate it 50% by yourself and 50% use the artificial intelligence technology, you know. So that is a deliverable. When you like sit down, go through it, understand each and every sentence, each and every word, literal meaning, technical meaning, logical meaning, and all of that, and translate it accordingly as a native person would do, as a native person would understand. I think that that would qualify as a good deliverable for that translation project.
Awesome. Thanks, Usman. So let's go back to the Q&A. We have a few more questions here, and I think we've got enough time. So the next one is, um, let's see, they're all the same. Okay. All right. Okay, here from Muhammad Shakil. So hi Usman, what freelancers the enterprise or long-term clients hire when they see many proposals or profiles? What are their criteria to select a freelancer?
Okay, thank you. This is an interesting question. To be honest, this doesn't have one answer. It's case by case basis for different clients. I know there are clients that go through all proposals that were submitted before actually selecting the right fit for that project. So another type of client is the one who starts reviewing from the proposals they see first. Right now, Upwork is doing an amazing things for some jobs. Like you use more connects for your proposal to be shown at first in the beginning, topmost, order. That's really an advantage that I think in cases where you know you are confident and you are a right fit for that job, to use the strategy. So some clients actually look at maybe first five, first 10, and as soon as they come across a profile where they believe is the right fit and can deliver the job, they just hire without any waste of time. They don't like bother to scroll down and go through the rest of the proposals. So, but in terms of my own experience, if I'm going to actually advise as to what you should do as a freelancer, and hope that maybe clients that bump into your proposal, give you that chance to go into an interview with you, or even hire you immediately, is number one, you should try and back all through your projects. That's why from the beginning, when bidding on jobs, always also look at the client feedback. Some clients are bad apples. Yeah, unfortunately, that's just the reality of things. Just like we also have bad apples amongst freelancers. Some are really dubious, they overwork you, or they even don't keep their word, and so you look at those clients feedback, and you see a very, very bad rating. You even see 3.1, for example, 3.0 stars, and with terrible comments about that client. So upon seeing such clients, even when they invited you, I would advise to stay away. Just stay away, because uh, that would only cause problems for you, and you don't want to have that negative profile. Sorry, even though, well, as a top rated freelancer, for example, you have the option, thanks to Upwork, so to actually remove a negative feedback. I think once every 3 months, just as a perk that has been offered to you. So maintain those positive feedback, and I think a very good portfolio if your niche requires one. Yeah, and that's just it. And also a very, very good overview that highlights your experiences, projects you've done, maybe companies you've worked with. These are things that when even I, as a client, come across, wouldn't hesitate to hire, because most of the time these clients are very, very busy. They do not have the time. Some of them have personal assistant, to even schedule their travel arrangements, and their calendar and all of that. So I think these tips you should consider as a freelancer to improve the chances of you being hired, even amongst many proposals. And also, don't stick to one job. At times, you might see a job where the proposals that were submitted were maybe less than 50, less than 20. Try to go more for those you like, get to improve your chances of your proposal being viewed by the client. Thank you.
Awesome tips, Usman. And also, I did see that there were it's actually a frequently asked questions like, what are the criteria to get chosen or to get invited for the job? Another good thing is we also have um, another webinar for that. So we had one. It's called winning proposal or proposals that sell, sorry. So it's also in the same link that I sent you. You just have to find that keyword. So proposals that sell, it's gonna tell you all about, how to draft a proposal that would get their attention, get the client's attention. Because that the question is true, there are a lot of freelancers that's going to apply for a specific niche, because we have a lot of freelancers or independent professionals in Upwork. So how do you get their attention? In that webinar, we actually discussed it very we actually broke it down so that you guys can have more idea on how clients see you when you send proposals. Thanks, Usman. Okay, let's we only have 5 minutes left, so let's do another one. Um, so let's check here. So we're actually seeing the same questions. Mm, so one person asked about declining an invite or accepting. So um Amar said, "Is it necessary to always accept an invite? If we decline, will it affect the profile?" So I'm gonna grab this one, Usman. It's always, it's not necessary to accept an invite all the time, especially if it's not your niche. We know that, for me as well as an independent professional in Upwork, you sometimes very rarely get invites that are not fit for your skills, and what the only option that you have is to really decline it, because it's either you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail in the project, or you're not gonna deliver really good results because it's not your expertise. So it's okay to decline. It will not affect your profile. Actually, make sure that you answer each invite. It's either you decline or accept, because it also affects your responsiveness score. Regardless if you decline it or accept the invite, that's okay. It's not gonna affect it as long as you respond to the job invite. Okay. Okay, there. Let's check for another one. Okay. Same question. Okay. All right. So Imran Latif asked, let me just post it here for Usman. There you go. Imran Latif asks, if we are very well comfortable with the client and our communications are meaningful as well, so should we suggest them the right things for them, even if they conflict with their own thinking? Personally, Usman, what's your take on this?
Personally, what I would say is, if you are confident and have been in that profession long enough, you can offer your advice professionally and politely as a suggestion. Don't try to enforce your ideas on a client. This is my take on this. Yeah, I do give recommendations when there's the need, but always remember that you cannot enforce your ideas on the clients, because all clients have their own unique requirements. So I even rarely do that. You might have worked on a similar project, but I assure you it's not the same project. Each and every client have their own unique requirements. So always try to go with the flow. Yeah, because even before coming on Upwork to post the job, I think they know they had a problem. Unless where the are open, and from the discussion, you realize that they are looking for ideas they are not 100% sure, and they've come to you as the professional to give solutions. Then, of course, when there's something conflicting, and as the professional, yeah, why not give them your honest opinion and suggestion.
Awesome. I think that there's also a follow-up question for Tarang Kotecha. What if a client, this is about revisions, going back to revisions, Usman. What if a client is asking for unlimited revisions? How do you usually deal with that?
To be honest, I wouldn't expect that, but well, expect the unexpected, right? So if a client is asking for unlimited revisions, then you would have to politely tell them to create another milestone so you can actually dive more into that project. Because if one thing I always do is because I have a bit of insight into the terms of service. I know it's really lengthy, and well, we all don't like to read terms of service for anything. We just accept. So it's actually against it to be doing free work for a freelancer. Sorry, for a client. So if you ask me on limited revisions, if there's any word that qualifies beyond free work, yeah, I've got to like use that word. So you politely ask that client to, because uh, two is okay, to be honest. Because okay, unless it's a project catalog where you've set your price, including revisions. For example, you've set a particular price for a project catalog. It's a new feature on Upwork where, okay, you say that, okay, you design a flyer for $20, for example, which includes 3 revisions. You have another catalog where you design a flyer with a includes, let's say, another essential feature for $50 with 5 revisions, and maybe, you gonna send it in 5 different formats. Just as an example. Sorry, I'm not a graphic designer. Apologies for the graphic designers in the house for maybe not putting it the way you would get it. So that's a different case. For a project catalog, you know that, okay, the revisions are still within the catalog that the client purchased. But if not, you did your normal contract with the client, you completed it, submitted, and you actually offer that person the revision, and now they are asking you for unlimited. And honestly, that's way out of point. I know other platforms like do things differently, but on Upwork we don't actually. I don't think it's acceptable at all.
Okay, thank you. So here's another one from Tarek Rahman. If I fail to submit my let me just post it here. If I fail to submit my work on time, what can I do? What is the best way to get more time from my client?
Okay, thank you for this one. The best way is reach out to a client as soon as you know that you won't be able to meet the deadline. Don't allow the deadline and then be scared of, oh, what's he gonna say? So just try as much as possible. If you know that, okay, the work is due in 2 days and it will take you another 4 days or 3 days, reach out. Communication, it is key. Yeah. Reach out to the client and tell them you should apologize, be polite, and tell them most likely you have a reason, and give them your reason and tell them you want, hey, I'm really sorry, but I won't be able to submit your project as earlier agreed due to XYZ reason. Please, can we adjust the deadline? Yeah. And I think you shouldn't have any problem with that.
Yep. It's always, communication is key. That's right. Always give a heads up instead of, the client finding it out that you're gonna be late on the deadline itself, on the due date. So, just make sure to give them the enough time, to explain what happened. All right. And I think it's almost time. If, say, for example, you have a very good question that you want to ask, you can include it in the survey link that I sent you. We're gonna go ahead and take the last question here. So let's check. Okay, so the question was how to deal with tough clients who are very strict when you're while reviewing your work. I think you're on mute.
Okay, yeah. So, how to deal with tough clients who are strict while reviewing your work. So, like I said, there are difficult clients, yeah. And I always advise that you take things easy because I know I've been caught up in situations where I worked with that. Let me just share this story with a difficult client. And in fact, they were really difficult. The client was really difficult, and he gave me a negative feedback. So I, because we had a we had a conflict, sorry, in the deliverables. The client was actually arguing that this wasn't what they requested me to do, and I think ended the milestone. So I reached out to the client politely and I told him how this is gonna affect my profile, and I am willing to offer revisions if that is the case, just to make sure that we don't have any problems. So of which, okay, the client offered, in fact, I would call it a new project entirely, or an additional one, sorry, which was really underpaid, but I actually still stressed out myself to work it out and finish and deliver it for him to give me, to edit the feedback, of which he did. And I vowed never to work with him or someone like him ever again. So the moment you realize that you are having issues with a client, which I would mention maintain messages on Upwork, or all communications on Upwork, because at times I don't hope for that. I've never gone into that, but eh, when the need arises, where you've done all you could and you've delivered according to the client's requirements, and that person is still being persistent, still being difficult, I would suggest you raise a dispute, to be honest, because you don't want a situation where you are unable to actually find a common ground with that client. He or she has been difficult, and of course you want to maintain a professional profile all through, uh, positive feedback all through. So if you are having issues, you reach out, and I'm sure there's a mediation team that would help you out, especially when all communications were on the platform, because at times it's very clear that the client is being difficult, and I assure you to be sorted out, and this wouldn't affect your profile negatively. Rather, justice would be done. Thank you so much for all your questions. Exciting and amazing ones. Thank you.
Right, great questions, right? I love it. Okay, just one last question, Usman. So from someone as a man, hello, Usman. In terms of self introduction or a sample work video, which is the best video for an introduction? Can you give me an idea?
Okay, so a video for introduction shouldn't be lengthy, as as to my own opinion. It should be professional. You should make sure that it's been shot professionally. If you can, if you can't do this all by yourself, get assistance from someone who is good at video production, and then shoot that video or help you shoot that video. It shouldn't be tops 2 minutes, 3 minutes, at most 5 minutes. Because the way I always see it is, and I always say is, these clients do not have time. So always go straight to the point, talk about your professional experiences, and maybe how long you've been doing this, how you're going to help the client. They always want to hear that. Never forget that, how you are going to help them, how you are going to build that marketable website that's gonna be search engine optimized. They want to hear things like that. Let's say you are a web designer, of course. So how you are a native translator, you've been doing this for 5 years, for 10 years, it's your mother tongue, you have professional qualifications, talk about things that would always make it about the client. Yeah, in short,
Yes,
just always make it about the client, and I think you shouldn't have a problem. Yeah, so have a good
correct.
lighting, someone that's a professional to shoot the video, and you're good to go. Thank you.
Thanks, Usman. That's right. And also, if I can also share a part of the webinar that I did in terms of video introduction. Usman is, I would agree with Usman to make it, as concise as possible. And if you have to break it down, you can start by just quickly introducing yourself, highlight all your milestones based on your skill and experience, and then what you can do for them. And at the last part of your video, I think it's very important to try to hook them up. Like, you can tell them, you can ask them to, you can invite them to view your profile, or if you want, you can say, if you want to know more about the services or what I can do, let's hop on a call, things like that, like inviting them for the next step, so they won't have to stop viewing your profile after you do the video introduction. So let them know that there's a next step after they watched your video introduction. Awesome.
I would like to quickly add, sorry, Anne. You could
Sure.
also invite them to look at your portfolio, and call to action is always very important. So they can look at your portfolio, which is a great way to start.
Awesome. Okay, so all right. That's all the time we have for now. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today and for asking really good questions, especially to our guest speaker. Thank you, Usman, for giving us your time in helping out our co-independent professionals. And if you guys have any other questions that you think needs to be answered, again, please answer the survey and let us know what you think, or if you have any topics in mind, or even if you have additional questions, so that we can go ahead and look into them. All right. And with that, we'll be closing the expert talk. And thank you all so much again. I hope this has been an insightful workshop or expert talk session. So have a great day and stay safe. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.